Good evening. I would like to call the first meeting in Oregon City's new City Hall to order. This is indeed a wonderful day, and I wish you all welcome here, and hopefully you will feel welcomed as you do business with our city in the future. Good evening. I'm Alice Norris, the mayor.
Daphne West, Commission President.
James Nacita, Commissioner.
Eric Neely, City Commissioner.
Rocky Smith, City Commissioner.
Would you please stand and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Many of you, I know, weren't at our last meeting at the old City Hall, and I just wanted to draw some bridges for you. We brought a little bit of the old into the new. This is a gavel from, what did we decide, 1923, because it was used at the dedication of the Arch Bridge. It has 10 different kinds of wood in it, and they're all numbered, which is symbolic of many historic happenings and historic events in the life of the city and Clackamas County. So as a symbol of the link between the old and the new, we will be using that gavel part of the time. The other time we'll be using the also historic gavel, but made by local artist Jim Hall, made out of the Abernathy elm wood. So we'll be rotating those. And so the first thing this evening, I need to give you a couple of announcements. First of all, there is no amplification, so if you can't hear, I guess kind of wave at me and we'll try to speak up. The mics only go for cable television. So this City Hall is still a work in progress. We're not quite, everything's not quite connected, but it will be by December 18th, which is our grand opening. So we hope you'll come back at that time. So no amplification. And then the second item is much more somber, and that we extend sympathy to our senior planner, Tony Conkle, whose father has died. So he's in Chicago dealing with that, and because he's the staff lead on item number 7A, which is probably why most of you came, the McLaughlin Association, Neighborhood Association's appeal of the Public Works facility, we would like to hold that over until the next meeting. And I know you've all come out especially for that, but we'll do exactly the same thing, have exactly the same information, won't add anything to the record. But since Tony's the lead staff on that, we really wanted to be able to do it appropriately. So, again, I apologize for that, and if any of you need to leave, you may certainly do so at this time. So we'll see you then on December the 2nd. And then just because we guess we have 3 meetings left in 2009, which is Oregon's sesquicentennial year. And what we've been doing to honor that, besides many activities, is having a sesquicentennial moment. So tonight's is appropriate to the move into a new City Hall. I haven't been able to find out how many City Halls the city has had, which is a job for someone else to do, but one of our oldest ones is the fire station down on John Adams. I don't know when it was built in 1923, and City Hall moved in there sometime and was a City Hall until 1980. And by the way, that's the oldest working fire station west of the Rockies. And then the McCall building down on Main Street was a City Hall from 1925. It was built until the mid-40s, and the jail cells in that building still exist. So it was built for the new City Hall. And then I have a memo, the minutes from a meeting of May 16th, 1923, where the mayor and the city recorder were authorized to enter into a contract with the firm of Tranchel and Perilius for the construction of a City Hall for an amount not to exceed $28,285. It's about what we paid for this one. And I thought this was good because this is very applicable. Owing to the condition of the City Hall of Oregon City, Oregon, it is necessary to preserve the peace, health, and safety of Oregon City, that the new City Hall be built at once. An emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance to take effect on its passage and approval by the mayor. Now, the second reading of this ordinance was May 16th, 1923 at 7:30 p.m. So that is the history of a little bit of history of the Oregon City Hall. Then moving along, we have a special guest this evening with us. Not someone we don't know, but it's our Metro Councilor Carlotta Collette. Metro's got a lot of activity going on, including an MPAC meeting tonight that we weren't able to go to because of our other business. But Carlotta's here to talk about the planning that Metro's going through with urban and rural reserves and the regional transportation plan and the urban growth boundary. So welcome, Carlotta.
Thank you. And it is, I don't know if this is on. No, actually,
If you push the button.
oh, okay, there we go.
There you go.
It is really an honor to be, I didn't realize this was your first meeting in your new
First
city
official meeting.
hall, so it's really exciting to be here. As I mentioned to Mayor Norris, I almost headed to the other site, but someone, as I was leaving, said, by the way, don't forget they're in their new city hall. So I am very, very excited to be here. It's a beautiful building, great space. I think a lot of you have been following to some degree the urban rural reserves process, the Making the Greatest Place process. I presented, I think the last time I was here, talked to you about kind of where we are in that process. On September 15th, our Chief Operating Officer released this and the 1,700 pages or so of background material that you can find online, or I actually forgot they're in my car, but if you need a disc of it, I can make sure you get a disc. And it really is, I think, an amazing time in our region where we have brought together, and it's a staff report. Let me say that first. It's not a council report. It's a staff report, and this is an opportunity for the council to stand back and listen to the region, review these with you and with all of our other partners in our 25 cities. It integrates the kind of work that we've been doing in the region really since the urban growth boundary was drawn, but we've always done it in separate tracks. We've looked at regional transportation, we've looked at land use and whether or not to expand the urban growth boundary. We've talked about how to make our communities more vibrant, more livable. We've talked about how to finance infrastructure. This time, they're all in the same process. And those of you who've been around this process know it's been ongoing for longer than I've been at Metro, frankly. It's a 3-year-old process. And when this was released in September 15th, there was a 30-day comment period. By no means is the conversation ended as of October 15th. The conversation really is just kicking off. Let me talk a little bit about what is in this report. First, if you have them in front of you, on page 9, I think last year, I came to you and talked about the outcomes that we, as a region, were going to be aiming for. And I think all around the region, the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, the MPAC that Mayor Norris sits on, the Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation, all have voted to go forward with these are the outcomes that we wanted Making the Greatest Place to help us achieve. Vibrant communities, people living and working where they can choose to walk for pleasure and to meet their daily needs. Economic prosperity, safe and reliable transportation, leadership on climate change, clean air and water, equity. The benefits and burdens of growth and change are distributed equitably across the region. These are pretty broad brush. They're pretty mom and apple pie. And as we move forward, we're going to have to come up with the performance objectives so that we can actually measure, are we achieving this? And that's one of the big things in this report. There are really 3 major themes that we heard over the 3 years of building up to this report. Number 1, we heard over and over again, invest in maintaining and improving what we already have inside the UGB. Take care of our cities, take care of our communities, take care of our streets. Number 2, don't expand the urban growth boundary unless you absolutely have to. People in this region value that urban growth boundary. They think of it as the edge that protects our farmland and forests. We heard that over and over and over again. Don't take that boundary lightly. And then the third was, show us what you're doing. Give us some reporting. How do we know if we're achieving our goals? And so in here we call walking the talk, some performance measures that we'll be working on over the next, actually, probably decades. So what have we come out with in here in terms of those things? In terms of, I think probably the most important change that this report suggests for the region, and I think it's the one that kind of captures both maintaining and improving what we already have and don't expand the urban growth boundary unless you have to into one thing, and that's setting a new bar for when and how we expand the urban growth boundary. What we've looked at around the region is we have a lot of available land already inside the region. The likelihood that we need to expand the urban growth boundary to accommodate future populations or future employment lands, at least in the next round, is pretty slim. We might need to move it a little bit. There might be some small changes that we might make. But it looks like we have still a lot of room to grow. But when and if we decide to expand the urban growth boundary, we're going to, instead of saying, let's bring in a community like Damascus or North Bethany, let's bring it in and then study how to make it a community. We're going to say, first we do the study. First we do the concept plan for that community. And the concept plan should include who will govern it. Is it going to be annexed to the city of Oregon City? Is it going to be is it going to be its own city? Will West Linn take it on? So those issues, and what's the infrastructure plan? Who's going to pay for infrastructure, and how is that going to be developed? Those things have to be at least studied before, and to the degree that they can be, resolved before an area can come into the UGB. That's a whole new ballgame for this region, and I think it's a very important step. What we have learned is we brought in over 20,000 acres last time around, and almost none of it has been developed for a lot of very good reasons. Infrastructure being the biggest one. So what we wanted to say is before we bring in a lot more land, let's maintain and improve what we already have. Let's work in our existing communities. Let's make sure the people who already live here are living in great communities. Let's plan and make sure we know what we're going to do with those pieces that do come in. So that's kind of where we were as of October 15th, and each of the counties, let me switch now to kind of the microprocesses that are all coming together, and I'll try to go quickly here. There are several tracks going on at once. One is the urban rural reserves process, of which I think you're pretty familiar. Each of the counties came up with a list of and maps, and what you have in front of you is kind of the summary map of areas that they feel should be urban reserves, meaning that it's essentially a bank account. When and if we expand the urban growth boundary, we start with those urban reserves. To get on that list, they have to have qualified as having certain factors like access to sewers, proximity to good transportation, water systems. There are a number of factors. We also are looking at rural reserves, places where we do not want to do any development other than what is already zoned in those areas for 50 years. Maybe it'll be 40 to 50 years, and we haven't set that number yet. If you look on your map, the green area is what the counties are looking at as rural reserves. The lavender, medium sort of lavender shades are what people are looking at as urban reserves. And then there are some white areas that are undesignated or unreserved. Those will, I think the state agencies have suggested that those will be considered rural lands, and those will be the last to be developed. As we move around the region and need more property coming in, the urban reserves would come in first. When we have developed all of the urban reserves in the region, we may turn to some of those white areas that are undesignated or rural lands. The map now has a lot of kind of dotted lines and solid lines, and there's some letters and there's some numbers, and these are areas where we're now in negotiation stage, frankly. You might have heard that Washington County recommended 34,000 acres of urban reserves. Clackamas County was much, much more conservative, looked at less than 10,000 acres. Multnomah County at literally hundreds or less. I mean, they're sort of going back and forth about how many. What we're saying is that we probably need somewhere between 15 and 29,000 acres for the next 40 years. It's not all going to be in Washington County, so there's a lot of negotiation going on right now, and the group called the Core Four is meeting fairly regularly. They're meeting, I think, at least once a week, right, for the last several weeks, seeing, would you be willing to move your line to here, and it's a major give and take going on right now. What the plan is to have intergovernmental agreements by the end of December, draft intergovernmental agreements and a working map of what we think is pretty close to what we're going to end up with. I think what we're calling here is areas of pretty much preliminary agreement, where we're pretty solid. We'll take some time then to go out for public involvement in the early spring, and I think we'll be looking at February, probably around February, to make finalize the intergovernmental agreements on which areas will be urban and rural. The other track that's going on at the same time is the Regional Transportation Plan, and I just got news from MPAC that there's been a little wrinkle thrown in that as of tonight. We released the Regional Transportation Plan with this on September 15th, and that's the plan that has a large narrative that defined the outcomes the region was looking at from our transportation system. And then at the end of the process, each of the local communities submits their recommended transportation projects. And that list is around 1,000 projects, if you can imagine, region-wide. You may have read in the news that when we ran a kind of initial greenhouse gas analysis of it, we were not able to reach many, if any, of our outcomes, of our chosen outcomes. Okay, so I guess what happened tonight at MPAC was Mayor Sam Adams made a motion to include greenhouse gas analysis, more detailed greenhouse gas analysis, and I may be getting it wrong. That was in the projects before we can adopt them finally. So the plan was to adopt the RTP at our next meeting, which would be December 10th, or to recommend it to Metro Council for adoption. That's the Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation. Not sure what will happen now, frankly. We have a June deadline. That's a state deadline that we have to have finalized a regional transportation plan. So, and in the interim, we have to do all these clean air requirement reviews of all the projects. So we'll see what happens. I honestly didn't think it would pass, so I will have to go back to staff and see how we're going to accomplish that goal. But those are kind of the two biggest tracks going on right now, and it should all be pulled together over the next several months. There's still ample opportunity for you and your representative at MPAC to weigh in on the process, so if you have questions or any comments for me. Jim?
Carlotta, thanks very much for coming tonight. I'm kind of curious about some of the items on this map, just because we had such a vigorous discussion about some of the potential areas, and I see there are some of these designations seem to be a little different than what we talked about, and I just am curious as to how that came about. And I'll point out two. One, Newell Creek, we kind of split the baby on it. And we said that half of it kind of on the east side of Newell Creek we would want to be urban reserve, but on the west side of Newell Creek we kind of left that out because of the forested areas there.
Which letter?
That would be URW.
Yeah. And
okay.
I reported that to you after our discussion when we had voted at the Regional Urban Reserves meeting that they'd already made that decision that should be protected by Oregon City and therefore an urban reserve. And I think the UR12 is not.
That's the Clackamas Heights area?
Right.
Yeah.
The brain, as we were calling it, is out. So that's consistent with our recommendation.
But let me just repeat, these are all still in play.
Sure.
There's nothing firm about this map at all. It is all still in negotiation.
Well, we left it out completely, but this says UR12 urban areas for further discussion.
Right. And I think that's where it is right now.
It's not in the adopted. They adopted the URX, which is what our recommendation was.
Right.
Commissioners West.
Well, on the same note, then the URU, I thought we had voted for
To leave it out.
to leave it out, and that looks like it's still in the game, too.
Yes, they adopted that, as I reported when I came back. Yeah, they adopted all, they did not go with our recommendation on URW or URU.
And the "they" here is the county.
The county.
Clackamas
No, it's
County.
actually agreement, no, it's the Core 4.
The Core 4,
Yeah,
okay.
the Core 4 has agreed on all of those, and
Well, officially not. I
well,
mean,
the list they published that were the places of agreement.
Yeah, but nobody, there have been no intergovernmental agreements
Right,
yet.
yeah, no, it's not to the
So,
point of signing.
right, they could all still be in play. Commissioner
then-
Neely, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, and then URV, I think is incorrect on here too. They had agreed that that would be urban.
And now it's
and not un-
now
and
it's looking like it's,
It's as undesignated here, so I'm not sure what that goes, because I haven't been informed that that's been changed.
right.
So
I
don't know.
can check on all of the ones around Oregon City for you.
That would be
and
great.
Get back to you on what their status is, as I said.
As
It
of-
is fluid right now, but.
Yeah, that would be great. Commissioner Neely?
You know, if in fact the designation on Mill Creek, he was saying east and west of Mill Creek, I think it was actually east and west of
Hollow
Highway
Lane.
213.
Okay.
Yeah. The, my understanding is that that has come into the urban growth boundary of Oregon City because there were strong feelings that cities
Urban
were...
reserves.
For urban reserves, because there were strong feelings that somehow the cities could actually protect them better than the county could. That was the presentation that Lisa O'Meara made. And maybe we could, but my issue with that whole thing is these are lands, and I understand there are similar lands near the Forest Park area that fall into this category of natural areas of which urbanization would not occur. And yet, the only way we're going to be, well, there are several mechanisms of annexing. We can annex all the way to our urban growth boundary. A commission could decide to do that, should they ever come into our urban growth boundary. And I'm talking about should it ever come into our urban growth boundary. Island annexations are possible. We can annex if you're going to get 50% of the residents and 50% of the property owners to agree to the annexation. There are possibly others mechanisms to do it, but I think those are the ones that we've seen come before this commission at various points. Now, if it's never going to be provided urban services, and yet the city was going to somehow annex it, I don't know how we could ever justify to the property owners that we would be able to do that, when in fact we're not going to provide them any urban services. And I think there's a real issue here with really property rights. Let's say we adopted this tree ordinance that said you couldn't do any tree cutting in a given area at all. And yet let's say that residents in fact source of fuel was firewood that they cut. I think if you're going to look at these areas, whether it's Forest Park or Mill Creek Canyon, then the region must make some kind of determination of how we handle these particular issues. It shouldn't be dumped off onto the city to figure that out. That decision is being made by the Core Four, not by the individual cities. We've expressed as a commission here, at least part of this should not be brought in. We're going to have guidance as to how are we going to annex this land and protect it from urbanization at the same time. I think this is a big issue, and I think I think Metro has to, the Metro Council has to look at that for any of these areas that are in this situation. They cannot be urbanized, and yet we're including them in the urban reserves. I think it's a big issue, and I think you've got to deal with that before I feel at all comfortable with that particular process.
Well, I think you raise, that is one of the key issues, where there are, I mean, it's interesting because around Clackamas County cities, they're not interested in, for the most part, in annexing large areas. They pretty much have said, we can barely manage what we have. We don't really intend to expand a lot. On the other side, Washington County, you've heard, they have vast aspirations to expand. That's part of why, before anything does come inside the UGB, there has to be concept planning. And the concept planning, I think, is going to demonstrate whether or not you're going to get much bang for the buck. If you try to urbanize an area that is steep slopes or slide zones, those are areas that we can't build on anyway. So a lot of these, the net gain might be pretty small, and it might be that there isn't the governance answer, and so it wouldn't come in. It's a challenge because I think then we do have to look at foundation farmland in Washington County where there is a real interest in urbanizing them. It's going to be very, very difficult to take a regional perspective here and look at what do we as a region expect to gain from this process if we have to at some point. And as I said, the good news is there's no urgency to bring in much, if anything, to the urban growth boundary in the near term. And this process is setting aside land for the next 40 to 50 years. In 40 to 50 years, well, some of you might still be here. Some of us will probably not be. We're likely to have very different settlements, styles. Communities will look somewhat different than certainly the communities that, Oregon City actually has 100-year history of development, so that there's development patterns that are 100 years old, 160, and development patterns that are much more modern. How we develop over the next 40 to 50 years is going to be very different. I don't think that we're going to be building in slide zones. I hope not. I hope we've learned some lessons, and I think that how we develop some of these lands that are, there's some question about how much real efficiency you're going to get out of it, how much urbanization can really happen there. What concerns me more about that is what does that tell us about how much land we need to have in urban reserves? What's the net gain, developable land, out of any of these parcels? And they all have, in Clackamas County, certainly, they all have challenges. We have a very different topography here than we have in Washington County.
Other questions?
Yeah, a couple.
Go ahead.
More questions or comments?
Well, sure. Go ahead.
Anyway, the area east of that's essentially east of the Clackamas Heights area, and that undesignated area between there and the rural, the potentially classified rural reserve, that's Clear Creek. That's the Clear Creek watershed. And one of the reasons I don't know, I know I served actually on the Policy Advisory Committee to the County Commission. The area, the reason this was not designated as a rural reserve was it felt it was not threatened by urbanization. One of the concerns that I would have in terms of the UR12 issue, and maybe it is off the table, is that might be putting it in a position of being threatened. Of course, as you know, it's an area in which Metro Open Spaces has some very significant holdings, as is the case in Mill Creek Canyon. And this is, I'm not asking for comment, but this kind of designation is undesignated. Excuse the ambiguity, but I don't know how else to say it's designated as undesignated. Versus an undesignation of the Beaver Creek area where staff made a determination, in fact, could be urbanized, but the City of Oregon City wasn't interested in it. So the Beaver Creek community and the Clear Creek watershed undesignation are really rather distinct differences, and so I just want people to know that something's not designated unless something dramatic happens. It's not going to be urbanized within the next 50 years, but even after consideration occurs after that period of time, and I'm glad you made reference to the fact to go into communities ahead of time. The vast majority of residents of the Beaver Creek community have no desire to be eaten up by Oregon City. To give that community, should it be felt after that long period of time, that it could be urbanized, that it should be able to chart its own future. The Clear Creek watershed is quite a different animal.
Absolutely.
And I've only planned to live to be 120 years old, so I'm going to be commenting on what happens after this period is finished.
Good. We'll need your historical memory then.
Well, I didn't say I have any memory, but I don't have any now.
Any other comments or questions for Commissioner Collette? Counselor Collette.
Thank you.
Okay, now you're going to become Board Member Collette and go back to
back to the
Clackamas
school board.
Community College Board meeting. So thank you for taking time out.
I did have one other question. I'm sorry. It was just something on the map here.
He forgot.
The area, I forgot. No,
He's so young.
the area west of Troutdale, there's that green squiggle that looks like it ought to be part of a jigsaw. Is that the Sandy River? Or do you know?
So, I think so.
I think that is too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just,
I don't have my glasses on, but I think it is. I see a green squiggly.
okay, that essentially was my question. I don't know if all the lands east of the Sandy River are protected by National Forest. I don't think they are, but I don't see that there's any intention to cross the Sandy in any of these things. Is that right?
I think that's the case, yeah.
Okay.
There isn't. No, the only ones that are being battled over are UR14 and the connector there. That's what I think that's what the city of Troutdale wants for their industrial park, but it's as yet undecided. Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate
Thank you.
that. Okay, moving on to our agenda. Well, actually, first of all, I think that we need to celebrate City Hall a little bit, the new one. Since we are here, I think it's important for our vast viewing public to know how proud we are of this facility. The fact that it will be we're applying for LEED certification. It will be the first Oregon City-owned building to be LEED certified. We should know in about 6 months, so that's very exciting. And toward that end, 25% of we're using 25% less power in our lighting system. That's part of being LEED certified. We're purchasing green power. We have parking for bicycles. We use 20% recycled content in new construction materials. We diverted 75% of the construction waste from the landfill. 75% of the occupants of the building have access to natural light. So you'll see a lot of windows in the building. Those are all windows over there, too. Low VOC paint and adhesives were used in construction. We're going to be using green cleaning materials in the building. Non-smoking throughout the campus. I love this one. There's preferred parking for hybrid owners or carpool drivers to give incentives to those who do that. Our parking lot, as you'll notice outside, is an LID parking lot, meaning low impact, including the bioswales, which reduce runoff and improve our storm sewer system. Another service for the public will be that you can drive up to pay your utility bill. I believe that's operational next week. Is that right? Soon. You'll be able to pay your... Soon. You'll be able to drive up both to pay your utility bills and to drop off your ballots for voting, because this will continue to be a polling place here. So that's exciting. This addresses, of course, a critical facility need for the city. We have just some awful pictures of the crowding and the stacked boxes and overflowing shelves in the old City Hall. So this is a healthier place and, of course, a more efficient place for the staff to work. But probably very important to all of us is the fact that we've moved from the old facility allows now the police department to have more room and then to decide what the future will be for the police department. So that's very critical to us. This location, of course, is excellent because it adds more infusion of people and excitement here to this revitalizing area, well connected to the downtown. We have meeting space here, actually, so now you don't have to pay to talk to a city council, a city commissioner, or mayor. We actually can meet you here at the City Hall. There are meeting rooms that we can designate, and that will be...
Were we being paid when we weren't meeting with them?
Well, the fact that when we meet in a coffee shop, somebody has to buy coffee, either we or thee. So that's
I want to make sure that everybody knows under those conditions, it is I pay for my own, and whoever wants to talk to me pays for their own.
That's right. Me too. Me too.
That's how it is with me too. But that's part of the. I mean, normally you have a meeting place, so we now have a meeting place, and that'll be great. We also have. We're working on paperless agendas. You see these monitors in front of us, which are not working tonight, but on December 2nd. We will be paperless, and we'll be using our touch screens to go through our agenda. That will be a challenge. I know for those of you who watch us on cable TV, finally, you'll be able to both see us and hear us. And that will be something that I think people have been, I've certainly gotten complaints about that in my 7 years here. So as soon as we're operational, the improved AV should allow community greater access to hearing what we do as well as just seeing it. We also now have technology in the meeting room, so you can plug in your laptop there or use a screen. And we have these really, this afternoon at a meeting, our city manager got up and started writing on the wall, and everyone went, oh, but it's actually a whiteboard on a wall. And then we also have tackable walls like that so that staff can put up visuals that are important to our discussion. So
Tacky walls?
tacky walls you can poke pins into to hang things. So again, December 18th will be the full public rollout and reception and celebration, 4 to 6 p.m. So put that on your calendars. Others that want to talk about the new City Hall, I really want to particularly mention Denise Kai, Scott Archer, who have spent a great deal of time working to make this facility, what it is. Anyone else have any comments? Thank you, Scott and Denise. Any other comments on New City Hall?
Okay, I'll make one. It's
Okay.
sure nice to walk to work.
Okay. With that, we'll move into public, to citizen comments. Next time, when we're fully operational, we'll have a monitor here that'll tell you how long you're talking so that you can really have a clue about your 3 minutes. But is this operational tonight? That isn't either. So tonight, it is? Oh, okay. Tonight we'll be using the old system so that when you come to talk to us for up to 3 minutes, you'll notice that when the yellow light comes on, you have another minute. When the red light comes on, that means your 3 minutes are up, so you can kind of self-monitor your comments. And nothing new about citizen comment. We are eager to hear what you have to say on non-agenda items on this part. And please give your name and the city in which you live when you come to the microphone. So I'll call you 2 by 2, Marge Harding and William Becker. You first. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Marge Harding, Oregon City. I've been asked to read a letter from two citizens of Oregon City. They gave me the letter, and I said that I would read it tonight for them. November 2009, to whom it may concern. Having lived in Oregon City for 26 years, we can say that we chose this area of Oregon because of the proximity to Portland and all that the city offers, the quietude of the countryside, the mild climate, great recreation sites, and the social consciousness of the citizens of our community. We feel so fortunate to have chosen this area to spend much of our lives, and we're very proud to have been able to share Oregon and its role in history with friends, family, and visitors we host all over the world. What we're not so proud of is what Oregon City has done with the precious resource of land at the end of the Oregon Trail. As we come home on I-205, we cycle onto 213, and what do we see at the signage for the end of the Oregon Trail? A dump, a recycling facility, a Home Depot, a driving range, some other poorly developed properties, and a defunct historical museum. Instead of being the pride of Oregon City and a unique treasure that could serve as a draw for tourists from all over the world, the end of the Oregon Trail has become a joke in our family. Here's how the story goes. The first settlers came to Oregon City. They discarded their garbage and recyclables from their journey west. At the dump, then they resupplied at Home Depot, practiced on the driving range for a bit to relax, and then started to talk about where they had settled after their long, hard journey. Much of the opportunity to make this part of Oregon City a treasure has already been lost by the construction of Home Depot and the recycling facility. It would be nice to reclaim what is left and make it a truly unique setting for our history that we can proudly share with family, friends, and future generations. It would be nice to finally showcase this piece of Oregon history in a fitting manner. Sincerely, Mary Creamy, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, and Raymond Saunders, Certified Management Accountant. And then also I would just like to make a comment. As you may be aware, at the end of the year, we will have completed our volunteer commitment to the Ermitinger House. We would be happy to continue our relationship with the house if you are interested. If so, we would be willing to sit down and discuss with you our relationship with the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm William Becker, and I'm a resident of Portland, but I grew up here. Family's been here for a long time. That's not on? Okay. Great. I'd like to voice my support for Commissioner Smith's and Nacita's request to have the evaluation of the city manager take place as it's been promised to the citizens of Oregon City, and to ask the mayor and the two commissioners who oppose giving the evaluation to reconsider their positions. The evaluation is at least a year overdue. We're actually needing the second one because one wasn't given last year. And it gives the impression that the delay has been planned so that excuses could be found so that an evaluation wouldn't have to be given. The message that the three of you and the city manager are giving to the city is that the person hired to responsibly run the city and its finances is not to be questioned, and his work is not to be reviewed, even though the city code requires such reviews. You are saying that the rules only apply to those whom are not part of the inner circle. You give the impression that you have secrets about the governance of Oregon City that you don't want voters to know about. You're also sending the message to city staff that though they are held accountable for their performance, their bosses are not. Few things are harder on the morale of workers than to know that their bosses are held to a lower standard of accountability, actually, than they are. So just something to reconsider, if you would, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Kathy Hogan and Lloyd Purdy. Oh, sorry, were you on? Oh, you didn't sort of. All right. Oh, pardon me. So, William Gifford. Go ahead, Kathy, while he's coming.
Kathy Hogan. I came to announce the neighborhood association, but she just told me that it's not. We have our meeting tomorrow, but it's not going to be on the website or on TV or anything. So I'll go on to the other subject I was going to talk about. But if anybody here wants to come, we have the library director speaking and.
Give the date, time, and place.
Oh.
So it's
Thursday.
Thursday?
Then November 19th.
Okay.
South End Road, the Methodist Church at 7 o'clock. And besides the library director, the school superintendent's coming. But I did get it in the two schools, King and John McLaughlin's.
And which neighborhood association?
South End and Hazelwood Wesleyan Park.
Okay, thank you.
So, and then, I'm not going to stay long, so I wanted to bring up quickly because you're going to be talking about the light on South End Road. And I was hoping that you did get the CPO chairperson, John Martinson's letter. If not, I have a copy of it. And he sent it in October 30th. At least this is what's written. And what their concern was, because they live within the community, they go through that.
I don't recall it.
I don't either.
We received an email regarding it.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
the letter,
Is
the
this
email
it?
letter.
Yes, I saw.
It's the same thing on email?
Yeah,
Yes,
I saw
same
the
thing
email.
on the email, okay.
Yes, I saw the email.
So what the concern is, because
Oh, here.
what you said, in I've read the,
Is that it?
your little
Let's see.
letter here. And, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Rickenbacker, it's not, I didn't like what they said about the concerns of a citizen and not taking that concern very well. It was in here. To me, it's like the removal shouldn't be changed and reversed, because you know best. And these people aren't trying to be, it's not a political thing with these people. They're very, very concerned. They live within 3 doors or 4 doors of that home, that intersection. And she just told me that there was an accident just not a couple of weeks ago. And all it takes is one child getting hurt. And it says here that a truck hit it and dismembered it. I've lived here 33 years, and this is the first time I heard a truck has ever hit it. So why is it so low? And you want to put businesses out on South End Road, and why is that big of a truck going on a road that when you go downhill, either way on South End, it's curves and it's a very twisty road, and it wouldn't take a lot of truck traffic to put businesses there. So that has never been hit before that I know of. So it's kind of concerned. It would be nice to have it there. Thank you.
Thank you. William.
No, this is still 7, sorry, 9.
Ready.
Madam Mayor and City Councilors, my name is William Gifford, and I'm speaking as the co-chair of the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association. I live in Oregon City. I want to extend my sincere apologies and deep regrets that I did not think of these ideas that my good friend and counselor Bill Daniels told me that I ought to get up here. So I am. To begin with, I want to extend from the neighborhood the warmest welcome to City Hall and welcome you to our historic neighborhood. It'll be a pleasure to have you here, and we look forward to a long convivial relationship. And welcome to the neighborhood. Secondly, we want to thank you very much for the opportunity that has been extended, not just the neighborhood, but the whole city, to participate in the task force to decide an appropriate usage for one of our crown jewels in this neighborhood, that is the Carnegie Center. And we very much appreciate the opportunity to participate in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's all of the cards I have. Is that correct? Thank you. We'll move on to look at the agenda. So we've already changed it a little bit. Is there anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda or reordered this evening? Do you have something?
Unless I missed it, but you had indicated that you wanted to handle the vending cart permit up at the top of the agenda. The way the agenda is laid out, that's the only place that can be put in, so you might want to move that up so you can handle that issue.
Oh, let's see. Actually, it's the new agenda. I'm not looking
And
at
that's item 7D.
well, I've got to find my agenda first here. Just running around. No, it's got to be here someplace. I thought I stuck it in.
I have an extra if you need an agenda.
Too many papers. Well, I'm sure there's one here. It seems to have disappeared. Thank you very much. Okay, so that is item 7D that we will, do you want to have the public hearing first? After the public hearing, first in general business, or?
It's wherever you want to place it on the agenda.
I think probably the concern would have been with it being put back, but since I think we can go ahead and do this.
The hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah. that's what
I think the
figured.
reason
Kick
for
that
putting
hearing.
it forward is because we have the,
People
before
here.
us, the Public Works concept plan.
Right.
But let's go ahead and move it forward anyway.
Okay, so we will we'll do the public hearing, which is the stormwater facility issue, and then we'll take, under general business, item 1 will be the vending cart permit. Yes, Commissioner Nocita.
I do want to
There is something pertaining to procedures regarding the deliberations on the McLaughlin appeal of the concept plan
The question.
that I do want to ask a question of the city attorney about. It's not a deliberative question. It's more of a process and procedure question. So I do want to leave that on the agenda, just to pose the question. both to him and to the commission also.
I have no problem with it, but the fact we told people they didn't have to stay around, we've had a lot of
Right.
people leave.
It's absolutely
Yeah, okay.
nothing related to the
Yeah.
substance of the
Yeah,
appeal.
that's fine.
May we put that under Commissioner Communication, and then could I suggest that during our break that you confer with our attorney and talk about...
Sure, that's a good idea.
How about
Yeah.
we do that?
Yeah,
And then,
I can raise it during the commission.
Okay. Write that down so I don't forget. Okay, we're ready to go. First is a public hearing, ordinance number 9-1003, amending the same ordinance, a development agreement with John Jones Construction for a regional stormwater facility. And staff on this will be Bob Collison? It's Dan. Dan Drentla? Nancy Crashauer? Don't all fight to give us the report.
They didn't.
Well, they were all...
You set them up.
Yeah, they were all pointing at each other, so... Okay. Please proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. It is fun to be in this new paper. This is an ordinance that is before you that really wraps up a development agreement that was entered into between John Jones Construction and the City of Oregon City a couple of years ago now. And what that development agreement did was it set up a process for John Jones Construction to build a regional detention pond within his subdivision. And then there's a fair amount of other development in the neighborhood in that area that all of the future to-be-developed properties would use this regional detention pond rather than having the individual ponds within each subdivision. So we saw it as a good overall scheme for the stormwater detention planning out there. And the way the development agreement was set up was that once all of the construction was completed, all of the final construction costs were in, then we would go back and by ordinance adopt the final construction costs, so then they would be passed on to future users of the pond. And then the city also had a contributory payment that is noted under budget impact of $67,281. What differs about this, the outcome of the original setup for this development agreement and what we're proposing in this ordinance is to extend a 2-year time period to a 10-year payback period for Mr. Jones because of the economic downturn. We really felt like if we expected him to recoup his money in 2 years, it wouldn't happen, and it would really only be fair to him to provide more time for those other developments to occur so that he could recoup the money that he's invested in this pond that others will benefit from. So it's fairly straightforward, but we also have Bob Coulson here to have detailed questions because he was the individual that assisted Mr. Jones and did all the analysis on setting up this development agreement and cost apportionments.
Questions from the Commission? Commissioner Nocita.
The one that jumps out to me is why 10 years as opposed to, say, 5. That 10 years seems a long time, even an excessive amount of time.
I think actually, given the fact that some of the subdivisions haven't gone through land use planning, haven't gone through subdivision land use yet, that process in itself can take several years. And I can't tell you how long it's going to take for us to start getting regular residential building permits in community development again. But I think that could be, it could be really good news, and it could be 6 months. But from what I've heard, generally, it could be 3 years for business to pick up. So that, along with new subdivision approvals, and then just the cost of, or the time involved with full development of subdivisions, I think we could be looking at a 10-year time frame easily to recoup all those dollars.
And we will be collecting interest
Yes.
in the meantime. Commissioner Neely.
The one public facility I can recall where we did some, I'm sure there have been others, but was the South End Road sewer
That's correct.
Line that went through several years ago. Just because it's 10 years doesn't mean it can't be paid down sooner, I presume, if the development occurs on the sewer.
That's correct.
This is intended actually to give some kind of guarantee of the period of time, but if all of a sudden we had some subdivisions that
Yeah.
came in quite rapidly, it could actually occur at
Definitely.
a faster rate. Is that
If it
right?
naturally occurred at a faster rate,
Now,
that would happen.
is it a reimbursement to the city essentially? That is,
It's actually a reimbursement to John Jones Construction.
well, let me rephrase.
Okay.
The developments don't go in at all in a 10-year
Mm-hmm.
period. The city is responsible actually for the payments.
No, we're not.
Oh. So
Mr.
this
Jones fronted all the money.
This is directly really
Right,
from the
we're just paying for
developer
our share here.
to
Yes.
this, okay.
Right. That's for his,
Right.
it's his bank account.
Commissioner West.
I can remember discussing that, I don't know if that was last year or a couple years ago. I can remember many Commissioner Maybe's jokes of what we were going to do with that large pond. But all kidding aside, the developer really did the city a favor on this one, and it was seen as that. So I would be very supportive to make flexible terms, and if you can pay it back, or if you can write, I don't know if you write any incentive in. No, he has to pay it sooner. I don't know what you can do, but.
More questions?
Well,
Commissioner Neely or?
My understanding is stormwater can be managed better at a larger facility anyway. Is that correct?
I would say that there are lower maintenance costs, and the whole question about should you detain in a small pond or a large pond, there are a lot of different ways to discuss that. But I would say definitely from a cost of maintenance standpoint, that, and also given the fact that this is an area that is fairly well defined, there are not a lot of open streams between what would be between small ponds and the large ponds, it's a very good solution for this area. If you had some open streams between the small ponds and large ponds, then you start getting into other discussion about time of concentration along the stream path and what kind of erosion can occur. But in this situation, I think that the large pond is a very good solution for that area. And certainly, there are lower maintenance costs.
I think some of these stormwater ponds do function as natural habitat, and I would presume that the size of it could be beneficial from that standpoint.
I
as
agree
well.
on that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we actually ran into groundwater on this particular pond, too, so I think it has some potential for
recharging.
providing habitat, and yeah, for recharging.
Okay.
Good. Give me a motion, please. Commissioner West?
I move approval. A sigh. I move approval of ordinance.
Actually, just a second. I believe we're supposed to have a public hearing.
Yes.
Pardon me. Sorry, that was my fault. I will open the public hearing. Is there public who have come to testify on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and turn back to Commissioner West.
Okay, I move approval of ordinance number 09-1003, amending the ordinance number 08-1003, which is a development agreement with John Jones Construction for building a regional stormwater facility.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner West, seconded by Commissioner Neely. On the ordinance, may we have the first reading, please?
Yes, Mayor, members of the Commission. Ordinance number 09-1003, an ordinance amending Ordinance 08-1003, which approved a development agreement with John Jones Construction, Inc., pursuant to ORS 94.504 to 94.528.
Thank you. Nancy, the vote, please.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Nasita?
Aye.
Commissioner Neely?
Aye.
Mayor Norris?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. The next item on our agenda, so much paper up here, sorry. I'm looking forward to going paperless.
No, don't say that.
I am, really. We have just moved up the vending cart permit, so we'll take that item, which is scheduled as 7D next. So, Dan Drentlaw from our planning department, please.
Thanks, Mayor and Commissioners. This is our first application for a vending card, and because it's such a new process, we've been working on our standards for this. We're issuing this under the right-of-way permit, and as part of a right-of-way permit, you also need a business license. In this case, we had an application back in August, actually July of this year, and because this was the first process, the applicant, Mr. Trout, went through a lot of steps, and you can see attached to your application, he followed those steps, and included in those requirements were the right-of-way application, a consent form from the county, because in this case, he was proposing a vending cart located in front of a county property, which is the Liberty Plaza. He also obtained a food handling license and liability insurance. So those are the things that we initially defined as requirements for a vending cart permit. And in his case, he's proposing it again on the 800 block of Main Street. It's between 8th and 9th in front of Liberty Plaza. I think, with that, I think just for some background, we've been working with the downtown folks in refining this policy.
We've had a request. Can you speak up, please?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you.
We've been working with the downtown group in terms of coming up with some refinement to this policy. And we discussed that at the work session, as you recall, last Monday. And at that work session, the commission requested that we bring this particular permit to you for review. And the one step that has been at issue is found in the Municipal Code 5.04.180, which requires the commission to approve the vending of this type of use as part of a business license approval. So with that, I know that Mr. Trout is here, and there are some interested people here to speak to this.
Okay. The commission have any comment, or should we open up to public comment first? Okay. Those of you who have come to speak on this issue may come forward. First, where's that? Thank you. First, we have Lloyd Purdy, our downtown manager.
Good evening, Lloyd Purdy from Downtown Manager for Oregon City. I wish I was here to share with you, the people that have to make a tough decision tonight. I wish I was here with some strong guidance on what downtown feels about this issue, both the process we're working on and this specific permit.
We wish so too.
Yeah, it's a divided downtown, in fact, and that's what I needed to share with you. You had some public comment in front of you, some emails. I think there's probably one of each. One represents a point of view that wants to see permitting for vendors happening, and Mr. Troutdale's case is an example of this, and one that doesn't and isn't comfortable with it. Let me tell you how it shakes out downtown. A lot of the employees and the office workers downtown like the idea of a convenient vendor cart food option. All of the restaurants downtown are very concerned, and so I need to share with you those two perspectives. I don't know what the right answer to this is, and I've been dealing with it for several weeks. And part of my intent of being here today is to answer any questions you all have about how downtown's feeling about this, because my sense is that few of you have actually talked with the owners of Coffee Rush or Mi Familia or The Verdict. And so without having that dialogue, I don't know that you all have yet had a chance to see both sides of the issue. So I wish it was an easy thing. This is actually a harder issue than it at first appears. It's more than about a vending card. It's about what are our priorities for downtown. With that said, Mr. Trout has been very helpful in the meetings we've had where we've brought downtown stakeholders together to talk about a process. We're still working on developing that process, a process that works for vendors and that adds to downtown. Mike's been at those meetings, and he's been very helpful in coming up and crafting a strategy. I know we'll bring that strategy to you all later for review. So at this case, at this point, I know it's simply a matter of thinking about Mr. Trout's permit. I'll step to the side, but I guess I'm here in case you all have any questions about how downtown's feeling, or I'll wait here if you have some questions.
Commissioner Smith.
Lloyd, when did you first hear about the vendor cart program?
The first I heard about it, I don't know the exact date, probably several months ago.
Was it before the first work session that we had on this topic?
When was your first work session?
I don't have the date with me. It was the day after the vendor cart was downtown. Our work session on this topic happened the following day,
Right.
after the first day.
So I knew that city staff was working on some type of project, a proposal for a vending cart system process.
How do you feel about the fact that at that work session, we were told that this had been presented to Main Street and was okayed by Main Street, and then again, even in our meeting, work session Monday night, staff report said that the original application process was reviewed by the city attorney, code enforcement, public works, Main Street manager, and the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
So we were completely under the impression that the process had been followed.
Right.
It hadn't.
Right. I think
And so, well, I'll save my comments for later, but that's the real crucial problem.
Right.
It's not so much whether or not the vendor cart program is going to happen or not happen. It already happened. It's happening. It's already in process. And so now we have to fix it. It's not a matter of saying we can't do it anymore because it already got started.
Well, I think that's for the council to decide.
So I'll talk more about that in a
ultimately.
second. But
again, I agree with you. This is a tough issue. My understanding is it hasn't happened until this commission makes a decision, and my understanding is talking about the process is something we could probably do at the next meeting when we roll out the proposal that has followed a fairly good but not yet a complete process of inviting downtown stakeholders, the people affected, to buy into it. We've had a couple meetings. We have had 3. I'll still need a chance to share it with all of downtown, and that hasn't yet happened because we haven't had a definitive program yet.
I'm saying I wish that would have happened. The problem is we issued a permit as a city before we talked to people about it, and so now we have to fix our mistake, huge mistake. And so the problem now is how do we fix it? And unfortunately, I don't think we can fix it by saying no more vendor carts because we've already made a guarantee to somebody that that's going to happen.
Would you like a recommendation from me then?
Well, I think we have. I mean, if it's different for what we talked about, yeah, I would like to hear it.
I'd like to hear it
Well,
as well.
then, we've entertained several thoughts on the issue. One idea that has appealed to several downtown business owners who I've been able to talk to about this is let's get the program put together in a way that is relevant to the downtown community that's affected, that does have a space and room and a welcoming attitude to vendor carts. Let's get that done, and then we can welcome vendor carts in without a lot more conflict. For Mike's case in particular, maybe the thing to do is to say when the time comes, Mike, we welcome you to participate. We'll even let you come in under your original financial scenario, your original commitment. But until we get the rules figured out, we probably shouldn't move forward. So maybe it's a case of saying once we get the policy in place, then Mike or anybody can come in and vend. But certainly Mike would get a certain consideration for helping us figure this all out. So one case is to wait. One case is to say, Mike, we're just not ready for this. The commission does have the final say. The commission's done some listening to the downtown, and they're not yet comfortable with this. So until that case, here's your money back. So there's 2 scenarios you could deal with. The third, of course, is to invite Mike to vend, and he'll be out. And I'll keep getting a lot of heat for the next couple of weeks, and I'll make sure you all hear the complaints I'm getting. And also the positives.
Staff.
Well, everybody. I mean,
I think that's the issue.
Yeah. So basically, there's 3 scenarios I've laid out there for you, and they're all tough. And it seems like a little thing, but this is actually a big thing. I don't think any of us have given it enough consideration yet.
Commissioner West.
Do we have one?
No, that's the only person that signed up to speak.
Well, I spent quite a bit of time thinking about this because I think it's I think it's kind of a pivotal issue in downtown, or one of the pivotal issues, along with parking and other things like that. But so starting out with the general overview, do vendor carts add value to our downtown, and is this the image we want? Is this the quality of downtown we want? So I have some reservations on it, and my reservations might not have to be permanent, but at least my reservations are for right at this particular moment, and I'm going to explain why, or what my reservations are. And the first is that we are in an economic downturn, so business isn't good to begin with. The second reason is we've invested a lot of money and time and staffing into a Main Street program trying to encourage businesses to move downtown and to become more successful downtown. We're still in our initial stages. We haven't hit over the hump yet, and we've invested in a lot, and I really want to see our downtown businesses be successful. The next reason I'm concerned about the timing of this issue is because of the Arch Bridge closing for 2 years, so we have already a strained economy, and then we're going to have possibly more hardship. And then my last thing is on, are we setting up unfair competition? If the average lunch cart business is $300 a day times 5 days a week times 4 weeks a year times 12 months a year, it's about $70,000 in income, and we're going to charge $600 at the most for a fee. And so then let me just take this step another. This is a worst case scenario. Let's take it one step further. So somebody's out there selling hot dogs at lunch, making $50,000 to $70,000 a year, and off of $300 a day. So is that part of somebody else's lunch business? So are we sacrificing a tax-paying brick and mortar business potentially for a vendor cart? And what does the city get for revenue out of the vendor card at $650 a year? They get what's the business license fee they pay? It's the same as, I think everybody, correct me if I'm wrong, does everybody pay the same business license fee, or is it on the volume of your sales?
It has to do, I think, with the size of the business, but roughly it's 175.
So there's my concern there. But I understand that we've started this process. Now we've talked about it a lot. There is some pressure to have it. So my next thing would be if we could, I would wish our commission we could think about it a little more, work with Main Street and get the right fee structure in place, because I think that $150 to $650 for once a year is too little of a fee compared to what our real businesses have to pay. It's unfair competition. So that's where I'd like to go with it. I'd like us to see us do one more work session or whatever it takes. And I'm sorry that I don't have your name, Mr. Traub, that you've been subjected to this long ordeal. It was something. We have a process to do that.
Wait. Yeah, we need you to come up.
Come up.
Yes, please.
I guess the positive thing was that I thought it was a little bit out of order. I would have liked to hear from you first, but
yes.
This gives you an opportunity actually to respond to what's been said, and so maybe it's good that this happened this way.
Okay. So please introduce yourself and the seat in which you live.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would like to ask that the commission not limit Mr. Trout's comment time. I'd like, okay.
Well, first of all, my name is Mike Trout. I live in Oregon.
You need to turn your microphone on, please.
It's green.
Is it?
The light's green.
Light screen. Okay, I guess pull it closer, maybe. There you go.
My name is Mike Trout. I live in Oregon City. I've lived here for 9 years or so. I love Oregon City. And even though I haven't enjoyed the process, I've cooperated. I've done everything. I've abided by the rule of law that was given to me. And let me just, without taking up a lot of time, because I know there's other things probably want to talk about, but I have a pressure washing business, and that wasn't doing well, so that prompted me to start and to try to do something different. So I came up with this idea of a hot dog stand, and I really, when I was thinking about it, I didn't want to go into Portland or parts of Multnomah County. I wanted to be in Oregon City, so I went to Oregon City. And when I went to Oregon City Hall, I talked with the lady there. I think her name was Esther. She says, well, you need to talk to planning department in Oregon City. So I did that. I walked into planning. I spoke to Christine Gardner, and she says, well, we don't really have a program for vending carts now, but it's interesting, and I'd be interested in working with you on it. This was over a period of maybe about a month or so. I'd go in there and talk with her on the phone, and she said, I think it's a good idea, and I'll work with you. So I said, I'm serious about it. I want to do it. What do I need to do? As Lloyd was saying, every time they asked me to do something, I did it. And, I did it with the idea that I want to, because I enjoy Oregon City and I don't want to violate the law and get in trouble, I wanted to do everything above board. And so I've done that, right? Everything that's been presented to me, I've done. So anyway, here's the main thing that I wanted to say. Let's get my thoughts together. After I talked with Christina Gardner, Miss Gardner, and she gave me the go-ahead when I got permission from Clackamas County and for my location on the sidewalk, and when I provided my schematics of the cart to her and went down to the actual location, drew it out, talked with her about that. Every time she asked me to do something, I did it. And, it was a pleasure working with her. She's a great person. She shouldn't be the fall guy here because this thing went south. I'm the guy that's been put between a rock and a hard spot, and I'm not mad at Christina. I think I'm not mad at Lloyd. I'm not mad at Mrs. Crushhour. I'm not mad at any of you. I am a little irritated at the city manager. And the reason I'm irritated at the city manager is because I did everything that I thought I was doing, and I agree that there is an ordinance and it says that we have a legitimate reason to be here. I acknowledge that. And I wish that somebody would have told me, because I wouldn't have invested $7,000 plus in a cart and had to throw out, countless number of supplies and things that have gone bad on me, spoiled on me. I've invested with Clackamas County Health Department for licensing fees of tune of about, I think, around $600. Food handler's license. I've done everything right. And rather than just set up on the corner and do something, I wanted to abide by the rule of law, and I thought I was doing that. So after, when I had originally talked with Christina and she gave me the final approval, I told her, I said, I still don't have my business license in hand. And I had applied for the business license, and it normally takes about 2 weeks. This was about 4 weeks or so into it, and I didn't have it. But Christina said, you're approved. And so anyway, I ordered the cart on that basis, and I don't think Christina was trying to maliciously do anything to injure me or create a problem for me. And I think she's a real asset to the Oregon City police, or to the Oregon City people here. Anyway, getting back to my story, when I got on the street, I was there for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I didn't come in Friday. I went back Monday and Tuesday. When I got home, I got a call from Code Enforcement. Code Enforcement says, we have a right-of-way problem. You are not permitted to come back, and don't come back until we tell you to come back. I said, well, I talked with Christina, and he says, well, I don't take my orders from Christina. He says, don't come back. I called Christine up, talked with her. She didn't know what was going on. She in turn talked with Nancy Krushauer, and they said that when they called me back the next day, said it was a technical problem. My license hadn't been issued. So now I got two reasons why I'm shut down. First reason is, there's a right-of-way violation. Well, I had a right-of-way permit. I paid $143. Even if I'm not paying a lot of money like the businesses are, I still paid what was required of me. And so anyway, to make a further point, I was told that the city manager gave an order to not allow me to be on the street, and I was told, I got a call from Esther. She says, "I'm sorry, in Oregon City, we got caught with egg on our face. There's a political reason why you're not getting your license, and this is orders of the city manager." That's what she said.
Mr. Trump, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
I'd prefer to ask now if it's okay with him.
Go ahead.
One, what rationale, if you had a right-of-way license, if you had a right-of-way permit, what was the reason that code enforcement was stating that there was a right-of-way problem?
I don't know. I got a call from the man over the phone. He called me after I had returned home. It was probably around 3, 4 o'clock, approximately. And that's what he said. I said, and I was dumbfounded because I had a right-of-way permit. I had paid the business license fee. I was told by Christina that I could be in business and that I was in business legally.
Do you remember who the gentleman or woman you spoke with in code enforcement?
It was a man, and I have his name written down at home. I don't know what it is right offhand.
Thank you.
Okay, so at any rate, I won't take too much longer. I apologize for... But at any rate, so I went in, this was like the 21st or something, 23rd or so, I don't know what the date was. I had it at home, but I had it written down. But anyway, I was there for a week and a couple days, told not to come back. During that week, I got a call back from Nancy Krushauer, and she said that on a recorded message that my license was going to be issued, my business license was going to be issued. And so I was, pretty happy about that. I thought, well, a little jog in the road, it's not a bad deal. And then that was on a Wednesday or a Thursday or so. And so I went into City Hall the next day, or the day after that. It was on a Friday, and I spoke with Esther, and I was checking to see if my license was issued, and she says, "I'm sorry, but I'm going to issue you a refund check for your business license." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Per orders of the city manager." Says, and that's when she told me, says, "Or we got caught with egg on our face. This is a political thing, and there's nothing I can do about it." And so, it's been one problem right after another. And so the question I have for you folks is, why couldn't this have happened the 30th of August or the 1st of September? Why has this taken so long to get to this point? And the other question I have is that since it has taken this long to get to this point, and we've had these downtown discussions, there haven't been a lot of business people that have showed up for these downtown meetings. I've been there for every one. My wife's been there for a couple of them. And, you got a great bunch of people working for you. I don't have any ought against any. I think they're a great bunch of people. I just don't like being put in this position. When I go through the winter, I normally have about $25,000 or so in savings, and I'm not usually working that much when I'm pressure washing, just the way my business is. So this year wasn't a good year, and I went in business with about $12,000, and I invested $7,000 of that into a cart. Now, after this happened, I asked Nancy Krushower, several people had talked with the city manager over the situation, and the city manager said, no, I'm not going to let it go through. I was told that. And so, here we are. So my point is that I have this, I've lost, somebody mentioned about $300 a day, $1,500 a week, and everything. I wouldn't have invested this money. I was planning on making something. Even if I would have made $100 a week, I would have been making about $6,000 or $7,000. I would have recouped my investment. Now, as it is, I can't go anywhere in Oregon City and work because my business license has been rescinded. I can't go anywhere. If I have friends, if I had a friend in Oregon City that had a business, I had a couple opportunities, and they said, we want you to come and set up. I said, I can't go anywhere in Oregon City because I've been blindsided, and it's not fair. And my position is that you should either buy my cart, pay for some lost wages, and, if you want to sit on this thing and don't want to do anything about it, but, I can't sell my cart. I got $650 in liability insurance. I asked to get a refund. They said, sorry, it's a policy, it's in full force. You're just out of luck. The guy that built my cart, he's not going to give me any money back. And so I've lost money. I've lost about $700 or whatever, $500 or $600 in fees to the county. And here I am. I can't even sell a stupid hot dog. And, it's just not fair.
Okay, thank you. I think this is not the way Oregon City likes to do business. In the first place, new programs usually come to us, and we were, among the last to know about that. I think we would be in a very different place were this to come to us as a new program, but we're not there. So what we have to do tonight is to weigh all of the fairness factors on many levels and make a decision on what to do going forward. I think it's our intent always to treat people fairly, but now we have to consider also the downtown businesses in the downturn. I think Commissioner West's list of concerns are certainly very, very valid, as are yours. So with that, we'll need to deliberate about what we want to do here going forward. So, let's see, I think
Madam Mayor, Mrs. Strauss I assume Mrs. Strauss is raising her hand, I think would like to speak also.
Yes, actually, I'd like everyone that wants to speak, please use the sign-up form. That'll help us. Why don't you come out, because you don't, we'll let you do it afterwards. No, you can do it afterwards. We'll just let you do it afterwards.
So you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. I am Darlie Trout. I'm the husband, or the wife of Mike Trout, and we live in Oregon City. Mike has always liked this town. And he started, actually, I think it was like maybe April or May, when he actually started doing this. And he went every day, every week, talking to Christina or whoever he had to go. The county said he could do it. And then we have someone says no. One person. And I don't think it's right. Here he is, went from April, and he did not even order the cart until it was said, okay. He had permission. We had the permission on our cart. People asked if we had a permit. We showed it to him on our cart. He did everything legal, step by step. Then it comes, one person, I'm sorry, one person is the only one I've ever heard denied him. Yes, denied him. The economy has been low. He's only wanting to make a living, and this one person seemed to say, no, I'm better. You don't do this. And that is not right. Would you rather him go out on a street corner and ask and beg? Would you give him anything? Have you tried his hot dogs? Has anyone tried his hot dogs?
I did.
All right. And they're good. He tries to do what is necessary. He's only trying to make a living.
Okay, we understand that.
And that's all I want to tell you.
Thank
He has the right.
Good.
Thanks for listening.
I'd like to ask Mr. Trout a question.
Commissioner Neely? Mr. Trott, would you stay up here, please? And I think there are some questions for you from the City Council. Commissioner Neely first.
The permit that we're considering, as I understand it, is restricting where he'll be able to have his vending cart. Is that correct?
No, it's not specifically the location. It's just the fact that it's using public right-of-way to sell.
Oh, okay, it isn't. The reason I saw that, I saw something referring specifically to that site in our document, and I didn't know if that was that
That's
restricted.
the site he selected.
Yeah, that's the site he selected, but should that site not work for him, he can go to another site, is that correct?
If he gets sign-off. He has to get sign-off from the abutting property owner. So if in this case...
Okay, well, no, that's fine. So if we issue this permit, he's not bound to that specific location if it doesn't work economically for him,
No.
as long as he can find a sign-off from property owners.
Well, his application's for a specific site, and he got the sign-off, so that's where it would have to be.
The sign-off by whom, though?
The county.
Yeah, that's my point. He could get a sign-off from another property owner, is what I
Well,
said.
that's another permit process.
Right, and then we have to determine whether we want to put the policies into effect that we have before us, and when. So that's the next kind of decision package.
So,
And how that applies.
My understanding is if we were to pass what's before us, it would apply only to that particular site.
And only to his specific application.
I understand that, but that particular site.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I meant to ask. Maybe I didn't come out right. And so, would you want to be bound under those kind of conditions where, in fact, that would be the only site where you could sell, should that not work out for you?
Well, when I originally started this process, I was under the impression that if I had moved my location to another spot, or moved my business to another spot, I would have to get permission.
That's right. And the problem, of course, we're facing, what Michael Jordan likes to call the conundrum that we have here, is that we don't even have the process in place to permit you to get another permit. And I guess that's the question. I mean, if we pass this at this point and we hadn't established our policies, I don't know that we'd be in a position to issue another permit. I mean, I think we can make an exemption here. I don't think that's an issue. But
It says specifically that you can get a permit from the city commission at our approval in our code.
And then I think, yeah.
So he'd have to come to the,
He is here.
Well, no, that's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking about this permit. That's not the question.
We're talking about further.
If this site does not work, I thought I was making myself pretty clear. If this site, in fact, did not work out for him, he'd have to go for another permit. And if we don't have policies in place at that particular time, he would have to come back to us then to essentially deal with it. And I don't know if that's acceptable to you.
Can I say one thing?
That's what I'm at. Yeah, that's what I'm asking the question, actually.
Okay, when this new development came up along Oregon City Highway 99, I would prefer to be there than where I was at. So I would, I would prefer to, I'm willing, obviously, I'm here and I want to cooperate, and obviously your word is going to be the final word. I just want the right thing to happen. I just want to be able to get out and do business and be by the courthouse, and I would be satisfied if I could once the other area opens up, go over there and, vend over there on
But let me clarify what this area is. I mean, we wouldn't be issuing a permit on that, but does anybody know what the area he's talking about?
It's the Willamette Terrace, the
Oh.
new area.
He's talking
of
about the new-
Park.
Okay.
And that, actually, we have not gotten, we haven't completed our agreement with ODOT
Yeah.
for that area
Yeah.
yet. We're
Okay.
hoping to.
So, I mean, I would be willing to, stay right where I'm at, and, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I would like to address the new codes. I would like to expedite, I mean, we obviously have a vendor program, and we do, whether we wanted it or not. We have a vendor program, and so it seems to me that we need to make it the best vendor program that we can, and that, of course, we want to treat our first vendor cart fairly, but I also think that any change needs to, I would like those new regulations to be vetted by what we would normally see as a program, but pretty expeditiously, because I would love to have those in place for our protection, so we can say that, from this point forward, we are going to deal fairly and certainly, with certainty, with other applications, or if you wished to change places, then at least you would understand the path that would have to be taken.
My problem is I'm running out of money.
Yeah, no,
I have no more money.
No, I understand that. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about in the future, because you're obviously going to be treated with an exemption or grandfathered or whatever we'll decide to do. But just speaking to the packet of materials, the guidelines, I would really like to see those move very expeditiously to be vetted and then come back to us and adopted pretty quickly. Commissioner Nocita.
With the prefatory statement that I think Mr. Trout has been done an injustice, I would like to move to grant Mr. Trout a permit pursuant to his application dated 7/29/09.
Okay.
Second for discussion.
Okay, my question then, so moved by Commissioner Nocita, seconded by Commissioner Neely. Could I ask you how long you?
I still have questions for.
Well, no, we're in discussion.
I am aware of that, but I was waiting for you to call on me before the discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're
absolutely, but so we have still. I think
well, just
questions that could lead to what we need to talk about. So.
Okay, could I just clarify first the motion, and then I'll get right to you. How long for his? When would it begin on August and expire next August? Or I think we need to be clear about.
No, I think in my discussions informally with the planning department the other day, it would be as of tonight and go forward a year. I don't think it's fair that he lose, license time through because of what he's gone through. I mean, if we're going to grant him a permit, I think it should be from tonight.
Okay.
And grant him, the entire right under the current ordinances.
Yeah.
We have ordinances in place. We have the discretionary authority, as the city attorney said on Monday, to grant him the permit. And I think there's been too much discussion. I think, as a matter of policy in our existing ordinances and in a matter of basic fairness, we need to issue Mr. Trout a permit forthwith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Commissioner Smith.
Okay, I still have questions. Sure. And my first question was really, if we issued your permit tomorrow or tonight, would you set up tomorrow, or are you assuming that the weather's going to be bad and you'd start in spring? Would you set up tomorrow if you got a permit?
Let me answer that question. I can't set up without having a 10 by 10 tent.
Right.
And I've called and requested permission. I haven't received a call back from the people I called. And I need to have some kind of protection against the elements. I would probably start working very quickly. It wouldn't probably be tomorrow, but it would be very quickly. It'd probably be next week. I have to get supplies and get set up. And I had a parking place that I was paying for $70 a month. I mean, I got all sorts of money I've stuck out here. Now I don't have a place to park. I have to go through all that process again. to find a place to park. So,
I still have, I'd like to at least get through.
Go continue.
Okay, you were refunded your business license, but were you not...
$37.50.
Your business license, right?
Yeah.
But what did they do with your right-of-way permit?
I still have the right-of-way permit.
That's unbelievable. And
I was told that if I got my money back on the right-of-way permit,
that's
that I wouldn't be
unbelievable. And you know
grandfathered
why
in.
you have your right-of-way permit? Because you can't use it until you have a business license, and they held your business license, and I want to know what the reason was for holding the business license, and not just, why didn't you give him a business license, because he has a business in Oregon City, and refund his right-of-way permit? It doesn't even make any sense. Because you knew if you gave him a business license, he could set up there. The only thing stopping him was an ordinance that we have that we didn't even look at. That's a little bit unbelievable. If he's basically got a right-of-way permit that's good right now.
Okay. So speaking to the motion.
So let's renew his business or issue him a business license.
I'm gonna.
On the motion is for the permit.
May I ask another question?
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
I'm going to ask another question.
Okay, Commissioner Neely.
It goes back to the period of starting and ending. The permit would be, permit would be for a year. Would you prefer a different starting date than right now, whether it be at the beginning of December or the beginning of January or something, so that you know? I don't like to see people shaking their head in the audience and distracting me. I can ask any question I want to. Is there a period in which you would want that permit to start where you feel pretty comfortable, you're able to put all the things together you need to do in order to get us started?
I could be operational within a week.
Okay.
But I have to have some protection over my head.
No, I understand that. So that
I can be operational within a week.
Okay.
So it could be effective tonight.
Yeah, it could be effective.
Commissioner West.
No,
you're not finished?
No.
Okay.
Well, the reason, and I asked that specific question before, because the real dilemma for me is, I already have made the decision on your permit. You're getting your permit as far as, my opinion. But it would be easier to start in the spring, so we had time to figure out the other problems. However, so that's why I was asking you specifically, because I felt if you thought you were going to start in the spring, that gave us time to, deal with your permit and then deal with the other questions. But, if you want to start tomorrow, you probably should be able to. So the only question then that lingers is if there's any changes to this current proposal than what were on the original one that you applied for. And as far as I know, there's not a whole lot of difference except for the fee structure, which I think we're going to do some waiving of that, hopefully. So I would want to see anything that is different on the new proposal has to sort of be dealt with. And I would assume that a 10 by 10 canopy would be one of those things, possibly. I don't know. So those are the only hesitancies that I would have in giving it to you right this second. But I think he needs us to get his permit, because we've messed this up. Of all the situations and all the decisions that I've been up here to decide since I've been elected, this one angers me more than any of them. And I've been angry at some of these things that we've done here. But this, you count up all the times that he called the city where we could have fixed this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And not one of those instances were we ever informed. We could have fixed this the first day. And we, even as a commission, at a work session, said, go forward with this plan. We said that. We've already had a work session on this. You remember it? We said, go forward. We had no problems with it, because we were told that Main Street was okay with it. We were told that it had been approved by everybody. So it's a disaster. We really screwed this one up.
Hopefully we can rescue it. Commissioner West. Now let's get you first.
I agree with you, and I'm really sorry for all the confusion and misunderstandings, and you really have borne the brunt of a big misunderstanding here, and so I would be, with my colleagues here, I would be happy if he was getting a year permit to grant him, if we change any fee structure, to not impact his fees for a year for the inconvenience that he has been through. But as far as design guidelines, I can't, we haven't ironed that out. So do we want 10 by 10 tents, or maybe we can figure out umbrella, some kind of other configurations for shelter? But I would like to see it, so we have a uniform look downtown on our carts. But as far as money, I'd say you would not have to pay any changes in fees. So could that be an amendment with no change in fees to his?
I'm going to address that secondly. It would be cleaner. I think we address that because there may be some other contingencies we want to add.
The fees you were started out with.
Right. So this is the motion still just says a 1-year permit beginning today, I guess is what we said. Lloyd.
Okay, yeah. One comment, one question. While it's uncertain in downtown, I get different perspectives from different people about whether they want to see vendor cards. Some don't, some do. That's uncertain. What I am certain about is that as a downtown manager, we're not interested in seeing 10 by 10 tents popping up on a daily basis on the sidewalks. Not something I would ever champion, except for special events.
Let's address the permit now, and then we're going to address the code changes secondly. So any other comment on granting Mr. Trout a year permit?
Does that mean he's off cycle from everybody else that wants to apply? If permits are issued in March, he'd always be off cycle. We can't find a way to bring him.
He may always be off cycle.
Well, we might be able to issue a permit that is longer than a year to get him in cycle.
That would be good.
I mean, we could do that. We can't do that now, but should he come before us to put it in cycle?
So from when we get our
the possibility of making that in sync. Okay, if that's our intent, we might need to deal with that. Okay, anything more on the motion? Commissioner Neely.
It's a question still. It's part of the discussion. Is your right-of-way time-specific, your right-of-way permit?
I can't be there from 12:01 to 6 a.m.
What I meant was, is there a ending date to it?
The date on the permit, I think, said March 15th, 2010.
Through?
That was the ending date. And I was wondering why, in the first place, it wasn't a year from the time that I applied, and I never did get a straight answer on that.
This is a city.
They just said, well, we'll have to review it.
This is a city permit?
This is the sidewalk right-of-way permit.
Okay, let's deal with that secondly.
No, if you'd let me finish.
Sure, please.
I think we go ahead with this motion, but then I think we should figure out how we're going to deal with the right-of-way permit, too, to make it concurrent with the issuing of the permit we're putting forward.
And the code changes and how it affects him. So I think we've got two other issues. Okay. Any other discussion?
Can I say one more thing? I have, as of March 31st, my Clackamas County permits expire. So I have to go through, I have to pony up some more money for Clackamas County and all this stuff for Clackamas County the first. So.
And then we can't do a thing about that.
No, that's not, there's the wrong venue for that
we
one.
We might be able to say something on your behalf, but we have no authority there.
So any other comments relative to the motion, which is to grant Mr. Trout a permit for 1 year starting today? Okay, Nancy, the vote, please.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Nasita?
Aye.
Commissioner Neely?
Aye.
Mayor Norris?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Okay, now let's consider the other issues, especially the new codes, the revised permit language. So when I think the issues on that are, when would we like to see it back before us? So we need some time to make sure that it is out in the community, and then secondly, how we wish Mr. Trout to be, when this begins to apply to him. So, comments on that, or you have a motion? I would like to see this done, because if we have a program,
Okay.
it's normally we do it the other way around. So this is a little backwards, and I think
where's my
it's
thing?
very, very important. It will give us all comfort to have this revised, and we worked on that at the work session. So we added to the language that it would be reviewed by the city, reviewed annually, both program requirements and fee structure, and then the permit will be reviewed by the city as well. I think that's what we added. Is that correct?
Okay. Where's the, how come I don't have that
Wait,
sheet
it's
with
from
me?
our work session.
It's on the,
It's,
the other,
yeah, it's from
I
our
don't have it.
work session.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Okay, Commissioner West.
I would like to move approval for Mr. Trout's permit to be in effect for a year with no fee changes for a year, but subject to design and location and other guidelines as we have proposed in our, and review as we have proposed in our vendor cart, quit flipping here.
Oh,
Your-
sorry.
your vending cart program there, and so so that might be in 3 months or in 6 months when we get it approved. So
So may I summarize?
yes, try again.
Okay, because we already voted on the first part, so you are moving that we adopt as we can, that we adopt a sidewalk vending cart program with revised language we've been discussing, and after it returns, after we adopt it, then Mr. Trout will be subject to the revised standards,
Other than
financial, which we've already dealt with. Is there a second?
Well, yeah, I'll second.
For this
discussion.
first year, for this first
For
year.
discussion.
First year, moved by Commissioner West, second by Commissioner Neely, and now Mr. Neely.
Okay, now, when those revisions come in, I mean, when we have adopted this, then those conditions would apply, and I understand that. My question is, he's talking about setting up a tent there, and is he going to be able to do so?
I don't think we allow that currently. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I say no also.
And I'm going to come back to the question then for Mr. Trout. That being the case, a tent not being permitted, would you like us to revisit the first motion and have the starting date another time where the weather is not going to be such a problem for you?
Let me just say this. If you won't allow a 10 by 10 tent, why don't the Oregon City people be responsible for getting one that I can use and supplying that to me at my cost or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think the
mean,
vendor
you know,
cart program is the vendor cart.
It's raining out there and it's going to be snowing pretty soon, and here I am with a $7,000 expenditure, and, I don't want to stand out there and get pneumonia. I mean, that's unreasonable.
Well, I think that's how it's dealt with in other communities. So
No, they allow tents, they allow overhead coverings.
Yeah, I think this is something that we
have to deal
we'll
with.
have to deal with in what we're looking at here.
I have a little umbrella that's 6 foot, but, I mean, I get sopping wet.
Understand.
I mean, it just doesn't cover. I need something in addition to that. I got to have some way to stay dry. Even my cart is going to get super saturated.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's something we can deal with tonight, other than
Well,
this
here's
is the
the
detail.
problem.
But hold on just a second.
Okay.
I want to have Commissioner Ncita speak next.
The permit that we've just issued, Mr. Trout, is the permit under our current ordinances.
Right.
If our current ordinances don't prohibit Mr. Trout from having a tent, I think Mr. Trout is perfectly entitled to have a tent.
Thank you.
And I, as far as the current motion that's before us, I don't agree of linking any motion to pass ordinances or et cetera to Mr. Trout's permit that we've just granted. That's kind of like a retrospective amendment to what we just passed. Whatever
No, it's not
whatever
not
future
past, it's future.
whatever future permits come into the city, those will be subject to whatever program and ordinances and guidelines that this commission adopts. We've just issued a permit to Mr. Trout. I don't think he's subject to anything except what's on the books right now.
Okay.
And that's true.
Unless
we change that for the new.
I'd like to pose that to the city attorney, actually.
Okay.
This vendor cart permit is not a land use statute.
No.
However, I think the principle is kind of what I want to ask you is if the principle is the same for the vendor cart permit, because his application was back in July under the current ordinances. There doesn't seem to be anything that if we give him a permit, which I guess according to the code that we discussed at the work session, is pretty discretionary on the city commission's part. So I don't think that the permit we've just granted has any provisions for any kind of requiring or limiting him to how he protects himself in inclement weather. If he wants to get a tent, I think he's perfectly fine in getting a tent.
And in large part, this depends on how you deal with a permit application. I'm not certain I've seen all the documents. What the documents I see have a drawing of a cart, ice chest, and shelf. And
Do's and don'ts.
The do's and don'ts, as I understand it, come in the program that you're considering and may deal with later, but that's not in effect right now. What you've got is a relatively wide open, you can grant a permit under such conditions as you want. I do think that if you start talking about, I'm not as familiar with that sidewalk down there as you are. When you start getting into 10 by 10 tents in certain areas, you're going to have some ADA compliance issues with widths and other things. You can set the conditions under which this permit is issued. The code clearly gives you that ability to do that. What you want to do in terms of allowing the tent and other things, you may run into some concerns that we haven't looked at, because as far as I know, like I said, and I haven't seen all the documents, but the documents that we have, they show a certain amount of clearance between the building in front of it and some other things, and once you start expanding that, I'm not certain we're there.
I also think that may pose issues with the visual impact in the downtown, which will be maybe an issue with business owners. Commissioner Neely.
Well, the term tent is a little confusing to me because I don't know what's exactly meant, but I will say that the antique fair, in fact, has a canopy, and I presume that's what we're talking about, is a canopy. And well, no, but that's permitted. I mean, we allow it. We have canopies out there.
Yeah, on a special event.
On a special event. But I don't think there's anything in our code that says you can or can't do it for a special event or for any other reason.
No.
It's not a code thing.
No.
And I think Commissioner Nacita's point is that there are not restrictions that we're going to impose on him that are outside the current code, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Correct.
And the point is, if the antique fair can have those canopies under current code, I would presume there would be no reason that he wouldn't be able to have those canopies under current code.
Yeah. Commissioner West?
Well, I understand what you're saying legally, both of you, and that's why the second motion is to amend that to reflect that, because comparing a special event with a street closed off and canopies in the street is not comparing apples to apples. That's a different thing. I bet we don't even have 10 feet sidewalks. We can't even fit at 10 feet, and that wouldn't be the...
And the new code language provides temporary permits for special events, which I like. I like that very much.
That's what we have, though.
Good addition, but that's new, not old, not existing. Okay, any other Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Nancy.
In terms of having a cover for the vending cart, there could be some consideration given to the county's position on that, because I think this is in front of their building, and I'm not sure how close it is to their door, but it's just that additional impairment of the sidewalk could affect their position on approval of the cart. It's just a thought.
Okay.
But my reading is that the city commission is, you have control over the right-of-way.
Commissioner Smith?
But these measurements, certain distance from entryways, certain distance from the sidewalk, those were all included in this first
For the
original
cart.
permit, right?
No.
For the cart.
Oh.
Yeah.
We-
It's for the cart.
A 10-foot tent is not something that's included in, something that would be allowed for a vending cart under
Yeah.
the guidelines that staff
So
developed.
that doesn't necessarily, okay.
Can I just say one
Okay.
thing?
Okay, Mr. Trout?
Not really, this is kind of related. My bottom line is, I'm losing money, I'm losing time. And everybody here is between a rock and a hard spot, including me.
Yeah, we have.
So, as a spirit of compromise, if I can financially, get some compensation, I'm not talking lawsuit, I'm not talking, anything. What I'm talking about is that if, let's say, I was already told that they didn't want to buy my hot dog cart. The city didn't have money for the hot dog cart. I offered that right in the beginning, so they don't want to do it. How about if we're at a dilemma where I can't do something and it's going to be a problem and things aren't what we thought they would be? How about paying me some money to until you can come up with a solution? How about some type of a solution that way monetarily, where I'm being compensated for something and the city's not getting taken to the cleaners, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody wouldn't be happy.
We're giving you an advantage. Yes, you've had harm done, but you're giving you an advantage by granting you a permit for longer than you normally would at the same cost.
3 months later, though, it's raining.
Yeah, no, I understand, but you get to have this summer, and your permit will not come due till for a year. So you do have some advantage there. But let's get back to the motion, because we're spending way too much time on this item. So if we can come to conclusion.
Oh, there's a reason for
Commissioner
it.
Nocita. No, I know there is.
Didn't have to deal with the McLaughlin thing
Yes,
tonight.
I know.
Mr. Trout, when you discussed this with the county, did the issue, it might not have been anticipated because it was summertime.
Different time.
But when you talked with the county, did you discuss with them the issue of, the cover for inclement weather and whether or not that would, have any?
I did not.
Okay. Okay. Is your sign off from the county in that packet of yours?
I didn't see it.
That was Mr. Mark Gonzalez that signed off on it.
Oh, yes, I did see that. Yep, it is here. It's in
Can I just make a quick comment that might be helpful?
Okay, Mr. Trout, would you, or Lloyd?
Would that be okay?
you?
Sure.
Thank you.
Betty Mum, Oregon City.
You need to come sit there.
Okay, Betty Mum, Oregon City. Just so you know, with the antique fair, the vendors cannot, because of fire regulations, cannot have canopies, so you might check with them. It might be a moot point,
Okay,
just so you know.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure there's more factors on that. And people tripping over the poles, and how do you ground a canopy, and wind, and...
Okay, so we have a motion before us, and the motion is to adopt the sidewalk vending cart program as quickly as we can with public input. And then when that occurs, Mr. Trout will also be subject to the provisions therein. Is that correct?
I'm going to ask a question of the attorney at this point.
Okay. Sure, Neely, go ahead.
I said minus the money.
We have, somebody gets a permit
Minus the money.
under current code. It's a permit is finite in time, a year's time. The code is changed. does that code then apply to the permit that was already issued?
Typically, the answer is yes. That's why you have non-conforming uses in zoning where it specifically says, we're not going to apply that to this case. You can certainly set up the permit system that says it won't affect permits that have already been issued, but if you don't have that grandfathering, the non-conforming, carving those out, then it would typically affect permits that have already been issued. You can prohibit the sale of certain things in the city, even though some store may already be doing it. So
the issue here is I don't know what the cart you've got is and so forth.
3x5 cart with a 6-foot.
We've got these designs that we have, and what happens if these designs don't apply to the cart he's got?
If his cart doesn't meet the design guidelines, you can set up the permit system in a number of ways. To the extent you don't make any provisions for existing permits, existing carts, he would have to comply with those guidelines that come into place. And again, you can make that, you can carve that out, but you have to do that and say it doesn't affect existing
It's a tough
permits.
one, and my inclination is actually to vote no on the motion because you want to hurry up and we want to do this quickly and then put this put this new code up on him, and we don't even know whether the design of the carts that would apply to the cart he has, and that would nullify his investment in the cart to begin with. I'm going to actually vote no on the motion for that reason. It's true we may have something that's there for a year that's not meeting a new code that we're going to put in place. We've really been put into this bind, and I think we have to take the individual's investment into account. In terms of your request of being reimbursed, I'd like to handle that a little bit differently. I'd like to get through this process, and if you feel that a better solution, in fact, is to get reimbursed, we perhaps could deal with that at the next commission meeting. I don't think we have enough information to make that kind of decision. For one thing, we don't know what those costs would be and so forth. And I'd like to deal with the issue of the permit being issued in such a way that, should you choose to do so, you're going to be able to conduct your business for a year's time, and you're not going to have encumbrances from the city on that. Now, there may be some things in the county that come into play that we don't have control of, but you've waited a long time for this process to go through, and I'd like to make the decisions to let the permit go through. Whether we can, in fact, should it be in both of our interests to perhaps negotiate some reimbursement and then essentially cancel the permits at a later stage, perhaps not in the distant future, we can consider that. But I'd like to get the process done here. My inclination is to vote against the motion.
Okay. I guess the concern that I have about I think I like the motion the way it is, as long as as long as the downtown and the public, the vetting of the standards works with Mr. Trout, because I think to have a non-conforming use that is unattractive will not be an enhancement to our Main Street and will discourage all future additions. And because I can't imagine that local businesses would be attracted to that. So I think that it's very important to work together on that. That likely there can be a way that I would hope that Mr. Troutman could take some suggestions if something isn't quite working. But I think that it's important to have the standards in place, and I would like to see going forward that it's probably going to be several months anyway, that we the standards are here, so we can look at them and see where they're missing. But I think it's kind of important going forward for the success of the program to have our first one be as conforming as possible.
Yeah, but you haven't addressed my question. My question is, his cart doesn't fit the standards we adopt. You're going to force him to get a new cart.
Yeah. No. I'm saying work together to make it better.
The motion. I'd like the motion read.
Okay. Is that?
I want to hear what the motion was exactly.
Yeah, that
I
is
know it is a
complicated.
complicated
Because
question.
there were several things, but at the very beginning, Commissioner West said to approve Mr. Troth's permit effective for 1 year with no fee changes, but subject to design changes for forthcoming, and when adopted, he is subject to the design changes.
And that doesn't deal with
address.
what you're suggesting.
No, it
I find
doesn't.
it unacceptable because it essentially revisits our
Original decision.
Yeah, it does. Well, it doesn't revisit the original.
Sure it does. It says we're approving a permit. We're making the decision to approve the permit with Commissioner West's motion overriding what we've just done. The language says...
Condition.
It's conditional on the
Condition
permit.
approval.
Yeah.
It's conditional on the permit.
I can't accept the language that currently...
Well, if we want to mitigate, if you're interested in having a conversation about mitigating some of the maybe economic or economic compensation for time lost as a business person, maybe what we could do would be to, if his cart, to keep it conforming is maybe to help pay for an umbrella or something that would be within our design codes to get that, so he could be, so that could work. Instead of a 6x6 tent, maybe we update his cart to whatever that it works within our design guidelines and he's dry.
But this motion doesn't do that.
Address that.
It doesn't.
Your motion doesn't address it.
No,
Do you want to
I'm
withdraw it and we don't even bother to vote on it?
And just we have to deal with the requirements sometime about getting those.
So if I withdraw it, that means at this point he has no design requirements within a year.
That's right.
No, I do not wish to withdraw my motion.
Okay, ready to vote? All right, Kathy. Did
I get even second?
To vote, please. Yes.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
No.
Commissioner Nocita?
No.
Commissioner Neely?
No.
Mayor Norris?
Aye. Motion passes, but is defeated 3-2. Okay, now, I think we've done everything we need to do to get started.
No.
Yes.
I don't want to prolong this, but I do have one other thing. As I understand it, what the commission has approved tonight is the right-of-way permit. Still leaves it...
No, that's,
No.
The permit till...
so we're not done with it yet.
That's what I was going to get to is the business license.
Business
So
license.
Yes, so I'm going to move that
Commissioner Neely?
I'm going to move that the business license be extended to the same period that the right-of-way license, the permit for the right-of-way be extended to the same period that the business license applies.
Point of...
And wait a second.
And that can surely be clarified.
There needs to be a second first.
I
Can't discuss it before there's a second. Motion dies for lack of second.
Okay.
Okay,
Now-
now Commissioner Nocita.
Well, my concern about the motion was, I don't know that the commission has authority over either a business license or a right-of-way permit.
That's not policy. Do we?
That is something that I look up, and what I'm look up in particular is the code authority for the right-of-way permit. And we've got, when we talk about business license, it has in one place, streets in public, there's obstructions, and I believe this is actually the old code that we have in front of us here, because I know that we have done some other things, but that was delegated to staff. And so I don't have specific language of that. As far as the business license, what the business license under the code is actually issued by the city recorder. Once it has been reviewed by the police chief, fire chief, city engineer, and agents or subordinates. So, I think what the commission can do is certainly ask that those licenses be expedited. But I don't think the commission has authority to issue the business license or the right-of-way permit.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that? I mean, I think it should be obvious what our desire is. Staff need any motion, any other further direction on this? Mr. Patterson?
Well, again, since this has been kind of an interesting evening, interesting discussion, from a staff perspective, what we've done with business license, once they are routed through multiple departments, and if there's any issue with the cart applying to those applicable standards, and I think you have heard a little bit about some of those, then we do not issue that. In this particular case, this is why we felt that before we issued these things, you really needed a policy, and I think we're making this a worse scenario than what it was if we just run the course on this, particularly given the weather, what have you. But if you want to issue this, it'd be my desire that you go ahead and issue the business license as well. I think you're going to get a real interesting reaction, particularly if you're going to have a canopy. I think you've got some sidewalk restrictions you're going to run into here, but that's why these things, I think, are handled differently than trying to work these issues at the dais. But wherever you want to go on this is what we'll do as staff, because I'm tired of receiving criticism on it, because I am not the individual that said no. I said no because this council has an ordinance which prohibited this use unless you granted it. And we felt you needed a policy before you granted that. I think you're seeing why that discussion took place.
Yeah. Commissioner Nocita.
The right-of-way permit is in place. So the only issue is the business license.
My question is, the right-of-way is in place for a fixed amount of time.
Right.
Yeah. And the question is whether we can extend it to cover the period of the permit.
Okay, I guess the point I was going to make is that we don't have to necessarily worry about tonight.
Okay.
I'm interested in getting Mr. Trout a permit so he can start operating.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he has a right-of-way permit in place, I guess the only question then is the business license and how to expedite that. And I think we're learning from the city attorney is that the city commission really doesn't have the authority to issue a business license.
You do have authority if one is revoked or not issued. They can bring an appeal to the city commission. I'm sorry.
How about if it was just well, never mind.
Well, that has to go through again. Yeah.
I mean, I guess my question then is this: if the purpose. I'd like to hear what the response was.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to hear what the response was.
What I heard was
informationally.
License was not issued.
There was not a business license permit issued. There was one applied for, however.
Right. It was not issued because you had an ordinance that prohibited it.
Right. But now we've given the approval tonight per the ordinance.
So there's no obstacle.
So I guess the question just is one of mechanics. Since we've given this approval, how much time would it take to issue the business license?
Normally those things, well, that's what we're working on to try to speed up. Those things have taken sometimes quite a bit of length. We're trying to move that up so it's done within 30 days. And that's pending that with any of those particular reviews, there's no issue that is run into. And again, I think since the commission's wanting to handle this, I think you should consider whether you want to issue that business license as well.
Well, I think the issue there is
and that would be without a review, because I'm not going to send it. I'm not going to route it through the various departments.
I think the question is again authority. If we don't have authority to issue a business license, I'm not going to vote to issue a business license.
Well, but I think that we can direct the city manager to expedite the business license. I mean, that's what we can do, because he's our authority.
He already said he'd do it.
And he said he would do it. So I think that's probably all.
Well, I think that's the clarification. Then we're not making a motion to issue a business license.
No, we're directing the city manager to expedite the business license.
Which means I'm not going to route this through the department for their review. So if there's an issue that comes up, that's something you'll have to deal with here today.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, Commissioner West.
Well, I just want to go on record that I'm really disappointed that my colleagues did not support language to bring Mr. Trout's cart in line with the design code for the rest of the downtown. I'm more than happy on the money, but I think, we would be happy to work with you to get that cart looking the way whatever our design standards when we adopt them would be. And I'm just on record saying I'm disappointed, and I'm not for it.
Yeah, and I hope too that you will work with the new ordinance, the new policies as design standards as they're developed as well, because I do want this to be a success, and I think without that compliance, that could be an issue. Commissioner Neely.
I think you realize there's still some other hoops with the county apparently in terms of a canopy or a tent and so forth. If you feel that a reimbursement to you is going to actually be better for you to pursue your business, I would recommend that you talk to staff, go ahead and figure out what your costs have been, and talk with staff and see if something can be done in that vein. It would have to come to us again. But if the thing is, we have not dealt with all the issues that, we can't deal with all the issues that are still before you. And so I just want to make sure that you know that there are certain things that we cannot do, and I'm just suggesting if you want to go forward with seeking some kind of compensation for your efforts and your expenses.
In lieu of setting up my cart?
Yeah.
That's
having
right.
somebody
Going for
pay
the
me?
city or something,
Yeah.
whatever. you-
Okay, well, I would be willing to talk about that.
That's fine.
Okay, you can,
And so now you got the capability of,
you have
from the city's
some
perspective,
options.
going forward for the
The
business.
question I have is, I've been talking for 3 months.
I know.
And I haven't gotten anywhere.
Yeah, well, you,
I don't have 3 months' worth of talk left in me.
no. Tonight's action should expedite at least this part that we have control over. Yes.
Did file a claim that went to the insurance company, and that has been denied.
Okay.
Or will be denied. I think they haven't issued that thing, but I have talked with the insurance company.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Neely, did you have final
No, that's
comments?
fine. And so to go that direction, and if you run into obstacles there, then we'll see how we can deal with it. But I just want to indicate that you can go ahead and go that route.
So are you saying that we're not going to be proceeding then on?
No, you can't. That's your
No.
decision. It's your decision
It's
whether
your
you want to
decision.
proceed with the
What
business.
we're granting
What we
you
have
is a
done is-
right to proceed. Whether you do proceed is up to
Up to
you.
you. So we've opened the doors for you, and you have to decide what your options are. So I think you can work with staff on that to sort that out, because as Commissioner
Who do I
Neely said,
talk
if there are
to about
outstanding issues, why, then we'll deal with those two. Commissioner West and then Commissioner Smith.
I just want to say thank you for your patience and your courtesy in dealing with all of us tonight, and we look forward to making your cart a success and a win-win, so that you enjoy doing business downtown Oregon City, and that the current businesses down there enjoy having you there as well.
Commissioner Smith, just a
When
moment, please. Just a moment, please.
Just for clarification, because the business license was in process at one time, and he was given essentially the go-ahead to set up. So my question is, does he wait now until business license is issued before he can be downtown? Which, we obviously want that expedited, but are we saying tomorrow he can set up his cart, or is he still waiting for the business license for the next week or whatever until he gets it? Because he needs to know that tonight.
Based on your action tonight, I'm going to sign off on the business license tomorrow without a review.
Okay. So you can set up tomorrow.
In fairness to the city manager, my understanding is the denial of the business license was because it has to go to multi-departments. Some of them did not agree to it, some of them did.
I think you've heard some of the issues. There was some right-of-way concerns. I think that had to do with the parking spot and the operations, but primarily is due because you had an ordinance that prohibited this.
As I begin the conversation this evening, this is not the way the city likes to do business. We have an ordinance prohibiting something, and unfortunately, we had
Let me indicate, too, because I know at least there is some misunderstanding here about what my role is, and I am charged by you to administer the codes that are in place. I had no choice but to say we cannot issue a business license until this issue was resolved, because you had an ordinance that prohibited it. You would have been just as mad at me if you had had a room full of folks packed that would have been mad that I had issued that and you had an ordinance that prohibited it. In fact, I was in a no-win situation on that one.
Wait. Excuse me. Commissioner Nacita.
I just wanted to clarify my reading from what Mr. Krebeisman read on Monday. The ordinance doesn't prohibit it. It says it has to be approved by the city commission. That's different from prohibiting something.
Actually, the language of the ordinance actually says prohibited.
It says prohibited.
What it
Unless.
says is, it is street sales prohibited. It is unlawful for any person to sell or offer to sell any goods, wares, or merchandise on any street, alley, or sidewalk, or otherwise within the city before first securing a permit from the city commission.
Yeah,
It's written in terms of a prohibition.
Well, without casting aspersions on anyone in this process, I think what might have kept this from getting as hot as it did was communication with the city commission as to back then, several months ago and weeks ago, about the choice of waiting for a policy before we issued the permit, or issuing the permit and going forward with the policy separately. Because I think that was Commissioner Smith's point about the fact that we were kept out of the loop on this, and I think we should have been involved up front because we are the one with the authority to issue the permit. So, you know, whether there needed to be a policy in place or not, that question itself was something for the commission at the outset of the process, and I think the fact that we were not approached with that choice at the outset may have contributed substantially to the problem we're right now.
So we have a new program here, and I mean, mistakes were made along. That's going forward. Hopefully, we can learn from them, and that we have a fair resolution. I think that's the important point. Commissioner Smith.
To say that it was, you know, we assume we hire the city manager and we hire the city attorney to check these things, and so when it came to us at a work session, I would assume that if it's been signed off by all these departments and our city attorney, as it says in our staff report, it was, I'd assume they would have, you know, that one first thing you would have done before initiating a program was to check to see if it was legal. I mean, so that's where I'm coming from. We didn't even check.
Yeah.
The work session is bringing out unto you to introduce it and talk about that. If then you are in agreement with it, we finish that up, and it comes before you for action. And that's where these issues begin to arise. You also had at the time, you had a number of folks who had different opinion of this. That's why we wanted to work back through the Main Street program to see if we could gain consensus. So we didn't bring you an issue as complicated as what you're seeing here this evening, and all those committees worked out so would have some guidance.
Could you wait just 1 second?
Okay. Wait just a second. Commissioner Smith, I think was. Okay.
The thing is, you asked the question whether who you're going to speak to. It will be the city manager, but it's under a different environment now. So don't let your frustration of the process inhibit your discussions with the city manager.
I see if I understand something clearly. The business license is going to be issued.
Yes.
And as soon as I get the business license, I can start operating.
That's right.
But I can't stay out of the rain. I don't have a canopy or anything I can put up. Something's going to have to be done about that.
And that is not an issue for us, apparently. It's a county issue.
Yeah, you'll have to work with it.
The way I read the right-of-way permit is the right-of-way permit is for the cart that was applied for that matches the guidelines that Christina and I prepared, and that does not include a tent.
But it has an umbrella.
It has an umbrella.
Fine,
Yeah.
It has an umbrella.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
But there's some issues
the
still to
umbrella,
work through.
the umbrella doesn't cover me. I get wet, you know.
Well, those are issues to work through, I think, as we go forward. So, okay, thank you. Commissioner Smith,
Thank you for your time.
Final word.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
It's just to finish this one last thing up. The thing that really concerns me is what I just stated, and I appreciate your response to it. However, we didn't get this at a work session till the day after or 2 days after he was already on Main Street with a permit. You know, so staff said it was okay. You supervise the staff, so there is some responsibility there. I mean, that permit was issued.
I'll take responsibility for that.
So,
That
I
was
mean,
an error.
that's what I'm saying. So, the fact that we issued a permit and the program was initiated before we were even brought it to us at a work session, and we were told that this was staff directed based on a community interest, not just one vendor. If you go back and look at the work session tape, I mean, it was very clear that this had went through all staff, it had been approved by the chamber, it had been approved by Main Street. I mean, I watched that tape I don't know how many times and wrote down so many details, which were back and forth emails about 20 times between you and myself. This was a huge problem. And so go back and watch that tape and see what we actually said at that work session and what we were told by staff at that work session. That staff is directed by the city manager.
Okay, I think hopefully what we've learned is the communication goes two ways, both in the staff and with us and with the community. So hopefully we'll keep that open and learn from that. And with that, let's take a 5-minute break.
Wait.